What are some decent paying jobs that do not require any sort of college degree? It's a shitty job, but vital. Can't be outsourced and pays damn good for only requiring a high school degree. Fly high on wings made of trash. My nephew was making $70,000 driving a trash truck 5 days a week. He only had to get out occasionally to help with heavy stuff. Sweet gig if you can handle the smells and the traffic. I respect anyone doing an honest day's work, no matter what it is. I believe it's better for you mentally too. I've never been happier working than when I've had jobs that have a clear task that needs to be completed. Jobs where outcomes are unclear, priorities are vague or constantly changing, and there are too many stakeholders involved. Are breeding grounds for stress. I'm a sociologist. One of the major social theories is called structural functionalism. Essentially, it explains that just like the human body has organs, heart, lungs, brain, stomach that perform different jobs but all contribute to survival, society has institutions, family, education, law, economy, religion, and roles that each person plays in keeping it stable and functioning. Those folks who pick up trash are every bit as important as doctors, lawyers, educators, etc. I would actually argue that they're more important on a large scale than almost every other profession. That's confirmed when the garbage workers go on strike. All those folks ever want is dignity, respect, and a fair wage. They really don't ask for much. Hey, I get it. I am one of these folks. Union garbage truck driver. Everybody deserves all of that. My almost 3-year-old and I love our garbage truck employees. We run outside any time it comes when we're home and say thank you and wave. Thank you for all you do. I heard something about trash men women in NY actually doing pretty well. Like if they start the career in their 20s, they could be retired with full pension ride by the time they hit 45. Nasty work, but damn, doesn't sound as bad when you think of retiring in your 40s. In my area, admittedly not NY, they almost never even get out of the truck anymore. Only around holidays to get some gifts from everybody. I used to give them 20 each around Christmas time. Now I have to give that to my landlord or be evicted. As a former municipal garbage man, we appreciate it. Look at it this way. 100,000 houses in my city, 50 municipal garbage men. The Christmas week is when we were given beer, gift cards, and cash. If you have me 20, it's almost certain I'd get another 20 within a few minutes. All day. City has put in 5 zones, so it's a week long of being given goodies. Today I realized I was supposed to be tipping my waste collectors this whole time. You don't have to at all. Aside from the Christmas season, the only other times we get tips or beer is when someone throws a 200lb antique couch in their lane. They know we're not supposed to take it, but we really don't care. It's us taking it for a 6-pack to a case of beer, or you haul it yourself to the dump yard and pay a dumping fee and have to waste an hour of your life. Most people go the easy route. They could retire after 20 or 22 years. So in theory, if they got in at 18, they could retire at 38. But at that point, they are the ones driving the truck or running the shop. So might as well stay on since you'd be at the top of the pay scale and would keep getting yearly raises. I was scouting houses in Staten Island and met some guys hanging out in their yard drinking beers in the middle of the week. Dude actually was 38 and a retired garbage man. Yeah, the benefits of unions and TBH, how everything should be in an advanced society with the GDP America has. Instead, we have CEOs making 4,000 times what their lowest paid employee makes. Hopefully one day everyone can retire before their 50s, but it would take one hell of a workers' revolution, and with the money these corporations have, they can afford the best military money could buy to keep that from happening, even if the government was willing and able. Tons of others have heard that too, and the job openings are hard to come by. When they do open, it's about who you know, just like many other jobs. The only job I've gotten on merit and not knowing anyone is being a mail carrier for USPS. No degree necessary, and the entry-level positions can lead to a multitude of careers in the postal system. There was a thread I saw on Reddit the other day, septic tank maintenance and cleaning. Apparently low stress and very high paying. The obvious downside is there. My grandpa was second generation running the septic tank business. He inherited all the equipment and clients when his dad was ready to retire. Let me tell you, Grandpa made bank. None of his boys wanted to take it over, so he sold his equipment when he was done. If they ever got in trouble as kids to teens, they had to go out and work pumping out the septic tank truck and cleaning it out. My brother got in trouble bad, and he had to go one day. He didn't mind at all and asked Grandpa to work for him that summer. He made a good savings, but it all went up in smoke when the summer was over. Grandpa was living well, not extravagant, but absolutely not struggling. Grandma passed before he did. He followed 11 years later. He was really disappointed. None of his kids or grandkids wanted the business. The custodian at my last office job was one of the coolest old black dudes you'd ever meet. Vietnam vet, got out, had a business for a while, got tired of it, wound up kinda just doing everything. He was over 70 by the time I met him, and one day we were talking. He said at one point he worked in sewage and septic. I said, OOF, that's gotta be some real interesting work, eh? Without missing a beat, his immortal reply was, I have seen some shit. I work in municipal sewer, and I always say, if I see the same shit, different day, something is very wrong. That joke is number one in the number two business. The richest non-college educated guy I know owns a pest removal business. Owning a business is by far the most accessible way to become wealthy. It's also very hard and very risky. On the other hand, exterminating has to be one of the lower capitalization businesses. So easy entry. Edit, I'm getting so many comments about this and that about the pest control business, but my only point was compared to opening any kind of storefront business like a restaurant, or any kind of infrastructure-intensive business that requires hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, like a machine shop or a gym. Pest control is low capital. I didn't say the work was easy, and I didn't say there wasn't a lot of regulation. Plus, pest control can come with some very, very lucrative jobs. I have a friend who owns one of these companies. Basically, if you ever get a flying squirrel infestation in your attic, you are boned to the tune of 4 figures or more. They are a protected species. The only way to deal with them is to put in one-way doors so they can get out but not back in, while also mitigating whatever holes damage problem you have, usually requiring some patching fixing, but in really bad cases, roof replacement. I'll be honest, I have never once heard of someone having a flying squirrel infestation. I'm in America though, so your location might make a difference. It happens here in Wisconsin. My friend gets 3-4 of these a year, and due to the regulatory stuff, it's a nightmare. And you get to bash rats with clubs. Slaughtered about 200 of them. It's like whole generations of them have died at my hands. Fathers, grandfathers, little baby rats. Sometimes I wonder if our lives are really more valuable than theirs. Why, I know, there is a wide range of difficulty and risk in businesses. If you choose a location well, running laundry or cleaning services is relatively low risk, just a lot of work. But the easier a business is to start, the easier it is for competitors to enter the business. This is what I am told. High income really boils down to, not the work, the ownership. It's why hustles with SNO cone and moon bouncer machines tend to make more money than pay by the hour hustles, but if you run a fleet of ice cream trucks or whatever, you can potentially retire very well on the wealth generated. I work in cart and MFG. We make $25 an hour as operators. I've been with my place for 7 years and I make 36 hours. Printers can make 45. Even more as a first pressman. So you manufacture cartons? Legitimate question. Could you elaborate? Yes. We take big rolls of paper and cut into sheets. Sheets go through big printers, then through big die cutters to cut and crease the cartons out of the printed sheets, then folder gluing machines to fold them, then shipped to whoever major brand to be filled and sent to Walmart, Targets, Trade Joe, Aldi, dollar stores, Kroger, etc. I produce major food and medical cartons. You won't have much of a life outside the job, and you'll probably collect divorces like Thanos collects Infinity Stones. But you can make 100,000 pretty easily once you've got a little seniority. Jobs around trains are noticeably more hazardous than your average job. You'd think avoid the giant moving train car is easy enough, but alas, so many accidental deaths. I don't think that the incident rates are any different, but the consequential gradient is a lot sharper. I don't know a lot of people who only get kinda hit by a train. Yeah, I looked into doing this for a while. Basically, unless you're willing to drop everything you have and be 100 dedicated to the job, good luck. Want relationships? Family? Kids? Probably not gonna work out that well unless they all know that's your life first and foremost. I mean, you can find shift work on the railroad. Too bad that shift is likely to be 11p7a with Tuesdays and Wednesdays off. Lol. And forget all about Christmas. You'll be at work then too. Does pay well though, and railroad retirement is pretty great. Look at the aristocrat here with 2 consecutive days off. Working a yard is not safe. You will be around train cars that weigh in excess of 100 tons. You will be exposed to diesel fumes your entire workday. Switching can catch and crush your foot. Hanging off a train car as it moves risks hitting any number of immobile objects. Engines in the yard are now being run by remote control. Someone doesn't pay attention and a machine weighing as much as 200 tons hits you. Dangerous, caustic and flammable materials are in those cars, and the chance of a spill or an explosion always exists. Can confirm the divorce stuff. My supervisor's husband was a railroad guy and they hated each other in the end. I've seen this posted before, and an important question to ask is what is well paying? Doesn't require a college degree and works 40 hours a week max. Yup, the guys I work with get paid a lot for an hour of their time, but they also have to work 100 hours per week for a few months per year, rain or shine. They have a lot of toys they never get to use. However, they are all paid for. Yep, that sounds a lot like the oil field. I grew up in Texas, so I know a ton of guys who did it after high school. And although it pays well, it's miserable. They actually don't make that much per hour, mid-low 20s per hour, but they literally work 100-hour weeks, so they all clear 120,000 per year. Plan on being away from your family for months at a time. Extremely hard on your body, everyone being an asshole. And rampant drug use, particularly meth, because you need something to keep YA going after 6 back-to-back 14-hour days. There are no low education, well-paying easy jobs unless nepotism is involved. There are 4 things that will make a job pay you higher. Jobs only pay what supply versus demand is at the time. So you'll never find an easy piece of cake job paying super well. If there was one like that, everyone would be qualified applying and they'd lower their wages. Man, the life this paints is miserable. I had a decent union job in dairy production. Got a lot of overtime, but was still able to be there while my kids were growing up, and the benefits were great. A lot of the overtime was voluntary. I will say I was lucky because this company was on a 4 10-hour day week, with weekends only on occasion. Weekends were always overtime. I could have retired with full pension at 56, but stayed in until 62 because by then I had a pretty light labor job, lots of responsibility, and was making above union scale. I was making 26 an hour as a forklift driver at a deep freezer. Edit. I also wanted to add that my job was to sit and wait for people to palletize boxes of fish to drive them in. So I'd wait 20 minutes on my phone, then drive a pallet in for 2 minutes, then back to waiting, rinse, repeat. Just adding on to this to say that the cold is harsh. There are some forklift drivers who work inside the freezers constantly. I was an order selector in a freezer, and the money was good, but I ultimately had to quit because I got sick at least once a month and my body was in severe pain. I would actually say that 26 per hour is not enough for what many people do in freezers. Freezing is an understatement. It's insane how cold they get when you're in one long enough. Once I was in the deep freezer for, 30 minutes with no gloves, and I thought at the time that I might have done serious damage when I came out. Oh, you can absolutely do some damage even in a short time. There were times I had to remove my gloves in the deep freezer to peel labels or replace batteries, and I thought my skin was going to fall off. And I would even argue that driving a forklift inside a freezer may be harder than order selecting. The only source of heat you get in there is from your own movement. Sitting still in constant cold is like torture. Can confirm. Worked at an ice cream plant and the freezer forklift guys waited for the robots to finish stacking and palletizing the ice cream. Then once a pallet finished, they picked it up and put it in the racks. The racks go up 4 or 5 spaces high. So you do need to be a good forklift driver. You also need to tolerate minus 20 with the gear you are wearing. You get lots of breaks too. I make $8,300 to $115.0 a year as a mailman. I went to school and didn't need to. There are other jobs in the post office that also clear $100,000 after time served. The grind to regular is brutal, but worth it in the end. Drive a fork at USPS. 10 hours days, 50 a week. 25 years in, gross or 100.0. Also have pension. The US government publishes data that helps answer that question directly for the USA. Locksmith. paid 125 for about 90 seconds of work once, and I was happy to pay it because he was the 10th place I called on a Saturday evening in July and the only one who was available. Dude charged me like 75 for a new car key. Meanwhile, to have the dealership, like 250 bucks, and my brand made them in pairs, so 500, plus labor and getting it towed. Dude came to my house, gave me a key within like 5-10 minutes. Wow, I've been quoted the same as the dealer price for new keys for 2 of our vehicles. I had a friend that became a locksmith. As a kid, his parents used to ground him by locking away things. Transportation logistics. All you need are critical thinking and multitasking skills. Yeah, I used to work for a recruitment headhunter firm that specialized in logistics, and the candidates were all making mad money with very generous benefits. Some of them started off in supermarket jobs as teens and worked their way up to logistics that way. How do you work your way up from registers to logistics? Do you become like a product manager, then straight to a logistics career? Logistics is just organized chaos with a salary attached. I've seen veterans get farther than most people with the same time investment more quickly, like senior and upper management roles. E5 seems to speak loudly in some places. Veteran preference hiring. E5 is also kind of equivalent to a low-level manager. Also means they have proven leadership abilities. You generally have to prove you have leadership qualities and abilities before even being considered for E5. I saw some dude post about how he started with nothing and now is a 250k a business repairing garage doors. That's all he does, and now he doesn't even do it. He just staffs his employees. I know nothing about it, and I'm usually very suspicious of anything anyone says here, but I bought it. I think garage door springs are supposed to be mega fatal. So one of my garage door springs broke earlier this year, and I asked the guys if it's as dangerous as it's made out to be. And they said regular garage door springs can hurt you, but the chances of significant injury or death are almost zero. They did mention a different kind of residential garage door spring that is absolutely deadly, but they said they're not common. Modern ones are wrapped around a pole and locked in place, and the twisting of the spring is what applies the extra tension. Older ones are on pulleys and stretch and can snap and fly all over the place, potentially murdering entire families of unsuspecting garage dwellers. Source: replaced my 1980 seconds garage door openers about 10 years ago. My neighbor's garage door broke and he hired the cheapest dude he could find. Well, the spring snapped and the worker broke his jaw. Said blood was just gushing out of his face. Wildly dangerous business. You can run a 2-man company doing residential garage door sales and repair. It's not rocket science, nothing is very heavy. Decent money, etc. I used to be an administrator for a family-owned overhead door company. We had plenty of guys that wind up leaving us eventually to run their own. We were fine with it because they came to us for the materials and we were focused on the commercial and industrial sectors. We only took on residential work as a favor friend of the company. It's definitely not a bad gig. My neighbor with a master's in whatever you need to do physical therapy lost his business during COVID. He started cleaning hot tubs. He now has for trucks and turned over $400,000 last year. Not sure how much of that he keeps, but they just bought 2 new vehicles. I'm a court reporter. I dropped out of school and got my GED. Went to court reporting school. I was able to buy my home and raise for kids as a single mum. I make $80,000 with just a high school diploma working a unionized admin support office job. I'm working on a bachelor's degree right now, and my job is paying for it $100. Unionized jobs can be fantastic. You are very fortunate. Sounds like an excellent gig. Tomorrow will be my 12th anniversary with this employer, and I am very, very grateful. I was fresh out of an abusive situation and starting my life over from nothing when I got hired at their lowest level entry position and have worked my way up to my current job. Everyone deserves the opportunities I've been given. I will always be staunchly pro-union, heating and AC workers, and especially business owners. HVAC pays very well, but it can also be very tough work. Summers in NC where I am will have you working in miserably hot and humid conditions more and more of the year. It's comfortable right now, but it doesn't stay long. Also, unact addicts in the summer will rival saunas. Me, with a college degree, lurking in this thread for advice on where to find a decent paying job. Bartending, honestly. If you find a good place and you know what you're doing, you can both be respected and make comparative bank. I make about 35 an hour for a 40-hour week and genuinely enjoy what I do. This is 100 accurate, but it has a shelf life. There are typically no benefits, and it is hard on your body. Typically, younger, more attractive bartenders make more money. Unfortunately, they are usually the ones to piss that money away and be in trouble when they get older and their back, knees, or liver start giving them trouble. I have seen career bartenders do very well for themselves. I've also seen quite a few wind up in bad financial situations. What about jobs that you don't need proof of a college degree? I work in the nuclear industry. If you have a few years of experience as a welder and can get unescorted access clearance for nuclear plants, you'll easily make 150,000 a year. I assemble sheds for Lowe's, Home Depot, and Costco. Once you get used to it, it's pretty easy. All holidays off. Take off whenever I want. Easy 6 figures if you don't mind sweat and not working whenever it rains. You can work in ID without any kind of college degree. However, it will be incredibly difficult to get that first job, and it will pay you peanuts. From there, it's a little bit of luck if you aren't siloed into only answering phones and reading from a script. If you have the kind of job where you can prove yourself and take on additional responsibilities and upskill yourself, then you can work your way up slowly but surely. It's not an easy path, but I know several people who make even more than me who have never been to college. And I'm paid well, even with college. It took a bit of effort to work my way up to where I am now. I agree, as a high school dropout myself who is now making 180,000 fully remote. Sure, it's great, but it took me a solid 15 years to get here. I spent many years at various help desk and PC tech jobs before I clawed my way into my first baby network admin role. From there, it's gone pretty quickly, and I've even been told by my current supervisor that I can expect it to continue. Reading between the lines, I'm being evaluated for yet another promotion. Ups, driver, hours are shit, but the benefits medical, dental, vision, massages, chiropyac and pay. Make it worth it once you hit top scale. Easy job that requires hard work. At top scale, you can expect to make 130 KYR with all of the mandatory OT. You have to toil in part-time for years though. Network engineering, especially plant work. Always good jobs in fiber, coax, power. Any college degree for network engineering also requires you to get certified because the degrees are worthless. Linux certs, network certs, SCTE certs. All pretty affordable and not too hard if you have a good head on your shoulders. Pay varies, but base is like 70-80K. Professionals make 200,000 and up. I came here to say this. Well, IT in general, but networking specifically is my field. I feel like it's the easiest way to a good income without a degree. My kid flunked out of community college at 19 and at 25 was making 140,000 working fully remote in a DevOps-ish type job after starting out as a networking guy. I'm gonna add on to this with specifics. If you want to go this route, start studying for CompTIA and maybe the network. These are career certificates that are nationally recognized. If you are a gifted learner and actually have an aptitude for networks, possibly you could skip the network and go for the CCNA. The CCNA can and will get you hired without a degree if you put in the work and not just apply for quick apply jobs on Indeed. Bus drivers start at 28 hours. Go to your local trade union hall and ask about apprentice programs. They'll usually train you for free to be an electrician, plumber. It's not technically free, at least in the IBU. They take $1 per hour of your wages to pay for your schooling for the duration of your apprenticeship. Granted, you will be making well above median income with excellent benefits, so it's 100 worth it. I second this. As a union plumber pipifiter apprentice, one Saint year I'm making almost 25 hours, and that's less than half the journeyman rate. I'm learning a ton, and the only costs have been some book FEs and the occasional week away from work. Overtime work is pretty rare, but available for those who want it. My only regret is that I didn't join earlier. When I was 21, I applied for a job at Bar Restaurant as a busser. I had never worked in the hospitality business. The owner said they don't need any more bussers, just bartenders. I told her I had no experience bartending, thanked her, and was about to leave when she said, "I will hire you as a bartender. I can teach anyone how to make drinks. I can't teach people how to talk correctly. I don't want my servers being bartenders. Do you want the job? A week of training and a month of getting the hang of things." I was making enough money to pay bills in a couple shifts, build up a large savings, and have more to spend them. I needed It didn't require a college education. It required basic intelligence and a personality that fit the role. You are the luckiest bartender in history getting hired that way. I went to elementary and high school with a guy who currently runs a pressure washing business for houses to clean them up. If you're good at sales, you can, semi-easily, make 6 figures working at mattress firm. That's if you don't lay down on the job. Take your time to decide, maybe sleep on it. A ton of sales jobs out there you can do well at without a college degree. My advice would be go B2B rather than B2C. That way you avoid the scammy shit and build a network. I did that, and over the last 15 years I've worked my way into a mid-6-figure role. Custodial maintenance paid well when I was younger. They really are decent nowadays. My son just got on at the cheese factory me and my husband used to work it when we met. We maxed out at 25 back in June 2004. He will max out at 32. Time and a half voluntary overtime, double time if you're drafted forced for overtime. An extra 2.5 if you work night shift. I was there 2 years. My husband was there 15 years. It's an amazing job. You babysit machines all day and are on break half the time. Unless something needs changed or goes wrong. It's easy money. When my husband was ready to leave, his employee owned stock he'd been getting matched at 10. Paid him out and we paid off our house and vehicle and didn't touch the 401k. Husband was able to take 3 years off to help care for his sickly dad. My dad, 2 uncles. A cousin, me quit due to chronic illness. My baby brother did their accounting. My little sister is doing forklift in Kula. My dad's been there 28 years. He has 7 weeks of vacation a year. You have 3 weeks when you start and more keeps getting added. We live in a low cost of living place, so it adds up quick. The hope is since my son is 19 and lives at home, he only has to pay his very practical car loan. He's paying off early and his car insurance. He should be able to save up a good nest egg until he's ready to fly the nest or whatever he wants to do. That's what my husband was able to do until we were married and started our own home. He stayed at home until we married, so he saved a ton. It's freaking easy. They make every kind and form of cheese you can think of that isn't Kraft or Sargento. Every fast food place you can name. This company makes it. Look into food factories. They are temperature controlled, pest free, high pay, guaranteed work because people gotta eat. Merchant Mariner. Starts off with terrible pay, but after about 5 years you could be bringing in over 150 KYR. Yep, from mopping floors and scrubbing toilets at entry level to making 225.0 a year and only working 6 months per year is a real thing. Even the mopping floors part pays $300 a day right now, so it's not terrible. You have to be American though. American mariners make way more than any other country because of the Jones Act. Self-employed tradesman. I'm a 1099 subcontractor that learned a lot of things along the way. I make a decent amount of money and I don't work when I don't want to. 20 minus 50 hours a week and I get to say no whenever I want. People know they can trust me and I work by word of mouth. No advertising, no office. Little overhead. But the kicker is that I never have to miss any of my kids' functions events. And that's what makes me rich. Excellent question. I make 34 an hour cleaning in Australia. I'm sure different countries have different rates, and I'm lucky that my employer pays above minimum wage. So if someone was looking to get my wages for cleaning elsewhere, they might be pretty disappointed. Animal welfare in some places. But the work is hell, having to euthanize animals. I'm ex-animal welfare officer, but a vet doesn't make the kind of money you'll expect at that kind of education. It's a strange world. I do animal control, my pay is not great, but on my on-call weeks once a month I get a flat rate for every call I respond to, which adds up quickly. Very emotionally taxing work, but very rewarding. I've worked in animal shelters, managed multiple vet clinics, and done fundraising for animal nonprofits. None of it is lucrative. The executive director, who was also doing all of the fundraising at the last animal shelter and nonprofit I was familiar with, was making $86,000 in an extremely high cost of living area. I made slightly more as a practice manager, but veterinarians aren't paid well compared to the amount of competitive schooling they go through. And techs aren't paid shit. Front desk jobs usually don't ask for any good qualifications. And they pay decently. Sales. It's hard work though. The person has to have a good charisma stat for this too. I used to do sales. Was okay, but the top salespeople are really good. I was good when people sat down in front of me. I have the skill of thinking on my feet, being able to explain things without being too technical and learning the product. Where I fell apart was getting them in the door. I'm not good at convincing people over the phone or email to come in. But when I sold cars, the good salespeople were making six figures. And most people suck at it. I do, even for my own business. It looks easy, but it's not. Sales is easy to get into. They're always sifting for the few people who are really good. So entry sales is like a tournament. Can you imagine being one of those people standing on a street corner trying to get people to stop and give a donation to a charity? My 23-year-old future son-in-law started doing that last fall right out of college and is now managing a team and will make close to $100,000 this year. He's the rare gem they're looking for. Kid will go far. He could sell snow to the Eskimos. I am in marketing sales. I suck at my job but made $120,000 last year. Will make more this year, but if I tried harder, I would make way more. I hate meetings. When I did door-to-door sales for an ISB, the top earners were sociopaths who could never take no for an answer. I watched the guy who trained me sell cable, internet, phone, and a mobile plan to someone who was clearly mentally handicapped. And that same trainer had a 2021 Jeep Renegade with 256,000 miles on it in 2022. They also told us to just ignore no trespassing or lighting signs posted on apartment complexes, housing projects, or individual homes. Fuel reimbursement was also pretty shit too. I'd only get 3.26 for spending the entire day in a town 30 miles over because I had to deduct for the round trip to my office, which was an arbitrary point in another town. I heard 15 units for the first month wasn't bad, but I still lost 2.0 over the course of a month and a half and got put on a performance improvement plan because no one wanted to buy a plan for their MVNO that ran off bandwidth Verizon couldn't sell. In short, only go into sales if you can't take no for an answer, are comfortable with threats of physical violence, don't mind lying to people, you're incapable of feeling sympathy or empathy, and you like going through a car every 2 years. Elevator installer or repairer. If you're getting into anything blue collar, you need your own business or the pay isn't that great. The exception is brutally difficult and/or dangerous work. Yeah, underwater welders making good money. If you make a single mistake, you die. Diesel mechanics make good money. It destroys your body. There are a handful of guys that get to do stuff like work on big building ACs and make good money. There's not a lot of those jobs to go around. I'd say go into public service. Pay starts low, but builds up over time. That said, there's an active campaign against public service, so, finally, someone speaking the truth. Yes, you can make great money in the Travis construction, but the trade-off for the vast majority of those jobs is insane hours, brutal conditions, and ending up with a body that's destroyed by the time you retire. And because you worked 60 hours a week, you probably didn't have the time to build a familiar relationships. Ownership is the way to go if you can swing it. I make pretty good money as a union electrician. After 5 years of apprenticeship, you'd be making $70 an hour, not including your pension annuity, personal fund, dental, medical, and vision. Granted, my local pays higher than most others, but depending on where you live, there's definitely money to be made. Not a career for the lazy though. I can tell you that much. Honestly, there are a lot of solid options if you don't want to go the college route. Skilled trades like electrician, plumber, or HVAC tech pay really well and are always in demand. Truck driving is another one. Get your CDL and you're set. Real estate can also be pretty lucrative once you get licensed. If you're more into tech, IT support or cybersecurity can be broken into with certs instead of a degree. And sales is always their insurance, B2B, etc., where your income really depends on your hustle. Basically, the key is swapping a degree for either certifications, apprenticeships, or just sheer grind. Plenty of people are making more money in these fields than folks with a bachelor's. Lineman here. I made $270,000 last year. It's not a 40-hour-a-week job, but you don't have to work every hour of overtime. Some guys work everything possible and they make a lot more than me. None that don't also require some other kind of expensive training, certification, or education. Everybody whose knee-jerk reaction is the trades is fundamentally missing the point of the question. Garbage man, street maintenance, locator gas, electrical, water line for call before you dig. Any decent-sized city with functioning unions will also have pipelines for uneducated folk to work their way up. You just literally start at the bottom doing shitty-ass jobs. Yeah, but they have paid apprenticeships that pay more than most other jobs starting out. And you get increases based on the period of apprenticeship. So they aren't really fundamentally missing the point.